Where's the coffee? Well, it is 5:30. I guess we can go ahead and call this meeting to order. Let's, Sunshine, are you ready with video?
Yep, we are.
Okay, we'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. We welcome everybody to City Council tonight. It's going to be very exciting. We are going to excuse Councilman White. He had some other things that he had to be doing. And to begin, you know what?
Dustin did it, Councilman White did it last time.
Would you, Councilman Becker, would you give us an opening prayer, and then we'll go ahead and recite the Pledge of Allegiance.
Our dear Heavenly Father, we're grateful for this evening. We're grateful for this time we have to meet as a city council community. We invite thy spirit and blessing to be here upon us tonight as we make decisions, and we pray that we'll make decisions in the best interest of the community and those that we serve. We pray for the safety of our community, pray for the safety of those who serve in uniform within our city and throughout the nation. And we pray for these things. I seek these blessings in the name of thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Has everyone had a chance to look at the minutes, the last meeting?
Yeah, there was just a couple minor formatting issues I brought up with Sunshine. Other than that, I thought they looked good, so I moved we approve.
Okay, we have a motion to approve. Any other suggestions? Okay, we have a second by Councilman Allen. All in favor? Okay, motion passes. We do have our public comment period tonight. Are there any in the audience that would like to take opportunity to address the council for up to 3 minutes? Yes, sir.
And maybe it's more of a question than a comment. I'm Russ Pearson, I'm the Court Executive of the District Court. Just trying to keep track of, we have 2 contracts that we submitted to you for potential approval, one for a lease for the building, including some extension of time frame for leasing and also some improvements to. The second one's the security bailiff contract. I'm not sure if you've seen those, or if that was when we kind of get tracked, so I can report back where they're at.
We have the security agreement. There's a few places that it has county. We just were asking those be changed to city, and then we're ready to sign on that one.
All right.
On the other one we had talked about, I don't remember if you were here in the meeting, Jared. It seemed like the city is open to the idea of extending the lease. But I hadn't seen a drafted copy. Has there been something drafted already?
Yes, I believe there was some that was sent. Here, but
I'll ask Josh, but the city manager's not here tonight.
I can check with our return short, but I'm pretty sure that was with you.
The concept, it sounded like everybody was in favor of. I know that Josh had a few things he wanted to talk about with the possibility of doing some shared space. Now, had he talked to you about that?
We talked to probably closer, there's city director, and we were talking about using the courtroom. Yes, we did talk about that, there's some analysis for that.
And so it sounded like, where the last conversation I had, was that we needed to look at plans, figure out how it was going to be designed, and then would finalize.
The courtroom or the other work? We're not planning on doing anything with the courtroom right now. We said,
I think Josh
we wanted.
wanted
Yeah.
So that hasn't been.
Yeah, probably what needs to happen on that though, for the security agreement, if you can just change the few places that say county to city, we're ready on that one. The other one, I think probably needs to be meeting with Josh first, and then he'll make a recommendation to the council. And I can help you arrange that if you need.
Mayor, that was on the that was or stricken from the agenda last time on the court lease agreement. It was a discussion item, but it talked about the 250,000 in renovations.
Yeah, and I know in having a discussion with Josh and previous discussion before this came up, because our council chambers are quite small, we were wondering about a dual use. And so if there were going to be upgrades, maybe working with your organization as well and possibly contributing to that to make sure that it fits some of our needs, if that would be something that we could utilize twice a month.
The money that we're looking at doing, what actually weren't doing anything in the court because we haven't had anything. More into the chambers, into the clerical and staff areas, to the entrance.
Gotcha. And so we were thinking, even with this room here, possibly upgrading a few things, and we held off for that. So there is some money there isn't money allocated for it, but there was talk about allocating money for that project for here and potentially just rolling that into that project. Because we were talking about knocking the wall out, different things. Right. But if there was an opportunity or an ability for us to use that where we're not affecting court or the way it runs currently, then we would be willing to, I think, spend some money to upgrade some of those, within the courtroom itself.
Do you know when Josh will be back?
He should have been here tonight. He had some car trouble, and he's driving back from Wyoming, so.
No worries. What I can do is I can get, I'll send you an email, try to set up a time meeting with our facilities director.
That'd be perfect.
Yeah, Josh and I spoke about this, and he was going to get with Chris.
Okay.
And set up another meeting. So
That sounds good.
For some of the things, Josh, some of the ideas he had in there, I told him that you guys have some rules you have to follow on with courtrooms set up with the judge's bench and all that. And so he was needing to coordinate with you guys to figure out what your requirements are and see if it would fit with what he wants.
Okay. All right, that sounds good. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for coming. Council appointments, I don't have anything. Committee appointments, public hearings. So fiscal year 2025 Roosevelt City budget adoption, Rhonda Goodrich. Let's go ahead and, let's see, yes, go to that.
Budget time again. So you have had a copy, hopefully most of you at least, of the fiscal year 25 proposed budget. I left another copy there in front of you. The only addition that you might have, that you might not have seen is the very last page, which is the capital. So we'll go over that in just a moment. But basically, the council budget is going to be, we're proposing 310,000 this year. The council budget was 275, so it is an increase. It is actually 3% of the overall budget. The courts are about flat year on year, and about 2% of the budget. The courts include our city attorney as well as the who's Morrison and Morrison is actually public defender, thank you, and any fines that we incur through any litigation or what have you throughout the year. The admin department, there's been a lot of moving departments around. As you see, we now have an admin department and an admin services department, and we're kind of expanding that so that we have a little more transparency of what different departments are costing. So it's a little bit harder to give an overall year on year, but you can look at each one of the line items and see where we're at. There's a column there that shows you what percent of the overall general budget each department has. And for those that do generate revenue, what percent they are self-funded through that revenue that they do generate. And all in all, we are looking at a budget of 10,375,000. 375,000, and the budget this year was, 11,325 is the final proposed budget for this year, with revenue increases, and so down year on year. But basically a flat budget for the most part. Some of the revenue decreases we're seeing are things like, as you know, we had a rather significant amount of vehicle accidents. We had a lot of revenue from insurance payment. We had some court money that was assigned for the police department's use. So we have some funding that way that will not be repeated in the next fiscal year. With that said, if you'd like to jump to the last page, and we can look at capital projects. Basically, what we've got is 4.7 million in current projects that will either roll over to the next year, or a lot of them are like, some of them are like leases or something, they're an annual thing, so they're accounted for in there. Also accounted for in that 4.7 million, for those that we are putting money, designating money in a sinking fund for future projects. The total that's in there is the accumulated total from all the prior years and the current year, what we would have in there. An example being fiscal year 2409, the sinking fund for the expansion, you'll see there's 300,000 because this will be the third year that we will have earmarked 100,000 towards that expansion. So that's accounting for that entire amount. And then we have below that, almost 5.4 million in proposed new projects, bringing the total for capital projects to 10.155 million. We have coming in fiscal year 25, 2.3 million in grants and other miscellaneous revenues, meaning that we would need to fund this, take 7.8 million from our pooled funds and appropriate those for these projects. At the present time, we have just under 14.6 in those funds. That would have brought the balance to 6.7, but we also have a closing that we will hopefully be doing here in about a week on our CIB funding. And so we'll have another 3.2 million, which is mostly money that's already been spent. So we'll be putting that back in, which would leave us at 9.9. And I told Josh that I felt comfortable if the city doesn't go below 10 million. And so we're right at that. So I don't have a lot of concerns about that. We were trying to be a little bit, a little more conservative in the spending for this year, but you'll see a lot of what we're putting out there for your approval this year are things like road projects and water, expanding the secondary water throughout the city. We've put quite a bit out there for work on our roads.
Okay, one quick question that I have on our capital projects. The ball complex, that 4.4 million, is that that's just what we had to bond for? That's not what the overall cost was going to be, right? Okay, that about scared me.
Yes.
So I was thinking, boy, we were overran that budget.
That is much.
Yeah, let Cody and, well, Riley's not on the council anymore, but, okay, I just wanted to make sure that.
If it's in the capital projects, like say the ballpark, that doesn't reflect then in the
Yeah.
general.
No, it's a different budget, but just remembering what we had approved for council was, I think,
Right.
3.4. I just want to make sure that if we're spending more than what we've approved, that there's transparency there. Any questions from the council so far?
We have a line item for expansion to phase 3 for the secondary water, but there's no money in that. Is that something we're expecting to receive later on? Or it's number,
Yeah.
25.
Now I'm trying to think, between that and the Page Bench project and also B&C Road Fund projects, it's all kind of tied in together. And the funding is there, there's 2 point some odd million dollars that we will be receiving either from B&C or we have received from B&C Road Funds in the past, and we also have the funding, it's not a grant, it is a
Forgivable loan.
0% interest, 100% forgivable principal loan. That's the mouthful that we have from the drinking water, environmental agent or group. And so, there is money going into this, the phase 3 of this expansion.
Rhonda, that was for 2 million on that phase 3 from drinking water.
Well, if somehow it got deleted out of there, then the revenue was also deleted out of there because it's totally funded by
Right.
the grants we received.
just checking, please.
No, thank you.
Any other questions?
Is the basketball court on here? I just
It
not
is
seeing
not, so, well, it is and it isn't. So we have, up above on, line item number, fiscal year 20, it's 60 at the top, fiscal year 24-62. That is the pickleball pad at Central Park. So part of that is for the basketball court. So I do know that Aaron has got more information for you, and we were just talking. There is potential that we may need to, because above the 140,000, it's going to be about 177. So there needs to be an additional 37,000 that goes towards completing both projects. We have money both in the fiscal year 24 and a little bit in fiscal year 25 as well, because the projects, none of them will be completed by the end of this fiscal year, so we try to move those around. There is a potential that we may have to come back and ask for a little bit of increase there to cover some of that.
To Councilman Goodrich's comment, though, I think it would be good to separate those two so that they're,
It would be, for visibility and transparency, that would be great. So now that we've got some hard numbers, we can go in and make that adjustment, so. Absolutely.
any other questions? Seeing none, would
I
we take a
move we go
motion
into
to?
public hearing for
Thanks, Don.
budget adoption for 2025.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, motion and a second. We'll consider our, all in favor.
Aye.
We'll consider ourselves in a public hearing at this point. Do we have any questions from the public on the budget? This is our third, I think. Yeah, go ahead, Preston, come up and state your name. Tell us where you live and your social security number.
Preston Cabot, Roosevelt. This is more of a question of, I want to go along the lines of projects. Just we want to make sure, we want to be ahead of schedule because I'm also on our Parks and Rec Committee, making sure July 4th, 2025 is budgeted. And just wanted to give a history, it's been 5,000, 10,000, 20,000, this year about 15. And we're going to with this as well as what fireworks headliner will cost. And I'd say with fireworks, our headliner, and anything else I'm missing,
Just advertising stuff.
in advertising, we're probably going to budget up to about 22,000. with fireworks
I'm
and
only looking at the
headlining.
headliner for next year, it's probably gonna be about 12.
So the fireworks has always been independent of the other budget. I mean, we paid for them, but we've never really considered it being a part of the Arts Parks and Rec budget.
And
And
not
so-
parts, right, because usually traditionally the
Well,
like headliner and stuff has come from the city.
yeah, and I guess what I'm saying is, I see what you're saying, but never, the fireworks have been what, historically 12,000 a year, something like that for 4th of July?
Per show.
Yeah, I mean, just for the 4th of July.
Yeah, roughly.
And so, but that's not a bad point, working that in and making sure, would you guys like to see it? Because obviously, you've been very instrumental and helpful with making sure that the 4th of July is moving forward. And then there's we have the fireworks that have always kind of been independent and paid for independently, and then entertainment that we've had a separate budget for entertainment. And then at one point, we have our Parks and Rec saying that comes out of that, we'll give you more. And but
Right.
just dialing that in. So how would
And I think, how you describe it, there are three different
exactly?
entities, and whatever, and Ron, you can let me know if I'm wrong, it'd be easier to have it.
The way
We
it's in
approved one
the,
budget for July 4th.
the way it's in the budget, July 4th, community celebration, it's under the council. We have 20,000 in there for this coming year, and that does include both the entertainment and the fireworks portion of all of that.
So
that'd be
when you say
about
under
8,000.
council, what's our total budget for council?
For 4th of July,
No, just because the council has a discretionary fund,
yes, you do, 10,000 in discretion.
okay, which is independent of
Yes.
this, okay. So 20,000 for fireworks, entertainment, and then anything above and beyond that would come from committees.
Probably.
UBIC and New Year's Eve, their fireworks would be under those particular line items. This would just for 4th of July.
4th of July.
fireworks. Mhm.
So that gives $8,000. I know that's
8,000, but that gives us, we know where we're voting on for our budget rules for next month. Of when we get, our budget, what we're gonna allocate to July 4th for next year, because all that will need to be spent prior to our next fiscal year.
cool.
So that helps us,
Yeah.
our preparation, and so we're working with Rhonda, making sure everything's set in that area.
Is that adequate? Are you able to work with that?
I think 20, I mean, that should be good, when you factor in the fireworks, I think 6,000 came out of the budget, and then, so we had 13 to share, and then there was some money that came out for fireworks. I didn't know that, so I had spent not knowing the fireworks to come out of that budget.
So to recap, so like we have 20,000 that's allocated July 4th, 12 of it will come for fireworks, 8,000 left over for headliner and advertising, and the rest can be made up for approved budget through our Parks and Rec.
Yep.
Okay,
That sound good?
sounds great. So I'll make sure we have that ready for next year.
Perfect. One thing that would be good too is I think that's a good way to do it. And then because we have had a couple of different ways that we've done it in the past, just trying to figure it all out. But yeah, we can just duplicate that from here on out. That would be great.
We'll make sure that we're here at this meeting every year.
I love it.
So we have it all figured out.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions on the budget?
I move we go back to regular session.
Okay, we have a motion to return to regular session. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Councilman Goodrich. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. We'll consider ourselves back into regular session. If no
Mayor,
questions.
I would move we approve the budget for 2025 with the suggestions on or separating the basketball and the pickleball, and making sure that the phase 3 water gets put in the capital. Those were the only things I can remember. Was there anything else?
My lunch money.
No. Okay, so that's my motion, is to approve with those adjustments, just to make sure that they're taken care of.
Okay. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Or I was going to say, or an alternate motion.
Yeah,
Second by Councilman Allen. All in favor?
aye.
Are there any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Ordinance 2024-442, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Roosevelt, Utah, enacting compensation increases for specific city officers. particularly Rhonda Goodrich. Did you know this was on here? Do
No.
you want us to scratch it?
It's
It's
probably ready, or I.
Go ahead, Grant.
There was a new bill that requires cities to disclose salary increases for certain offices. Do you have a copy?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, this is for particularly elected officials.
And appointed positions, department heads are also on there. Yeah, so I think that was probably in your packet. Can you scroll down to the bottom? That's probably what would be most interesting. Yeah, where it's got the table.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, right there. Okay, so those are all the people that needed to be on. It's showing what the adjustment would be for those. And this is just to comply with current state law. And it was a recent change. So this is the first time we're doing this, but you can probably expect to see a similar ordinance every time something change for these people.
So we do need to do a separate public hearing for this. The main thing to note here is that these individuals are getting exactly the same increase every employee within the city is getting, so.
And then we'll have to do this every year prior to budget adoption.
Yes.
That 2.5% merit increases is not every year for everybody.
It is merit-based, it is the STEP program that Josh has. So there are so many steps for each position, and once you reach the top of the steps, then there are no more steps.
And those don't happen every year, do they, or do they?
It does happen on an annual basis, yes.
Well, they don't have to.
No, it is merit-based.
Well, I mean, if we approve it.
Yes, absolutely.
I guess what I'm saying is that we don't have to approve it. When we have tough years and things like that, and just a little experience that I've had since on the council, sometimes we approve it, sometimes it would be 3%. Obviously, we've seen some significant increases in the last couple of years. 3% seems to be the most consistent that we've done. So I just want the council to know that, historically, it's not a given, but it is something that is to be approved, and then once approved. So we could, I guess there's some flexibility in what we approve. This is just a proposal.
So our current policy with the step increases and everything, we've looked at that and approved that as it is already. And then I'm just, and I think 3% is reasonable for this year's COLA increase.
And historically, we haven't had merit-based increases and cost of living increases. It's only been COLA. Last year, I think, is the first year that we did it that way, or maybe the year before.
It may have been the year before.
But previous to that, it was just the COLA. And so, and I'm not advocating one way or the other. I'm just saying, I'm just trying to bring some history to it to make sure that everybody understands. And again, it was just a strictly cost of living. A lot of times it was 3%. So.
And this year, what Josh is proposing, the way you put it into the budget, was the 3% COLA would take effect July 1st, but the step increases would take effect January 1st.
So it's probably more like 5.6% total just because of that. Okay. Grant, I'm curious, in the state legislation, does it require we disclose salaries or just how much?
It tells the increase. And so, and where it's brand new, different jurisdictions are doing it different ways. When we looked at it, this is what I recommended.
Okay.
And it seems to be what the majority of jurisdictions are going with, just to state the percentage. The salary information is public information, so people can find out if they want. But the wording in the statute is specifically talking about the increase. And I feel like it more accurately shows the increase to list a percentage than to just have the number. So that is kind of all background. It's on for a public hearing. It's just making sure you guys understand what it is, and then we'll make do that.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Just yeah, mathematically, the total increase up to 5.5, if you actually do it, it's 5.575%. I don't know if that matters. As Councilman Baird said it's about 5.6. And again, I don't care, I'm just curious if it matters for accuracy.
3% and then 2.5% on the
Right.
increase.
That's what it is. It's not much, it's just a little bit, but it is actually 5.575. So if that would be my only suggestion, if we're trying to be transparent and accurate, that's really what it would end up being, so we'd want to put that. But other than that, I don't see any problems.
Any other thoughts, questions?
I move do we need a public hearing on this?
Yes, we do.
Okay, I move we go into public hearing to discuss or to, go over the ordinance for compensation increases.
Okay, we have a motion to enter a public hearing for ordinance 2024-442. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Councilman Goodrich, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we'll consider ourselves in a public hearing. Are there any questions from the public on this particular resolution ordinance?
People are just so excited, aren't they?
Seeing none,
I move we go back to regular.
you say no one wants? We have a motion to go back into regular session. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Councilman Goodrich, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Now we will consider ourselves back into regular session.
I would move we approve with a change on the total increase up to 5.575, just for accuracy. On the last column there.
But if you're saying that, then is it going to do that increase?
I just think, to clarify, it would be 3% now and then 2.5% on whatever their salary is at the time that takes effect, which is January 1. So I think that's the most transparent way.
Just kind of make a notation, because right here I have it just the effective date. I could try and fit in, a notation here, this 2.5% increase is gonna be on top of whatever their current, whatever increase they've already received, because I think if I just put 5.575 at the end, people like me will look at it and go, wait, that's.
Yeah, I would just put current salary effective January 1st, 2025.
Yeah, honestly, do we need the last column?
No,
It's required. What I'm saying.
yeah, it wouldn't be required. What's required is what's in the other two, and so it would be an option. And I think it probably would be easier to understand if we have data.
Yeah, I like that better. So I would move we just get rid of the last column then and approve this without that last column, because I think would be a little confusing to adjust it.
Okay, we have a motion. I think Sunshine has the information she needs. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Councilman Goodrich. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. All right. Basketball court approval, Aaron Brandt. Thank you, by the way, Aaron. So Aaron's been kind of heading up the project for the basketball courts. He is ready to rock and roll.
Yeah, thank you.
We're ready. You can see in your packet some of the bids, okay. That we've been working on, the concrete bid, the
And
fencing
that's why
bid,
it's on there like that.
striping,
Do
trigger
you have a
level.
total?
Yeah, there's a page with all of them on.
Which one is that? The.
Okay, yeah. Thank you.
The first section there gives you a little bit of breakdown of who we receive bids from and what their bids look like. On the bottom part there is taking the lowest bids and giving you a total, if you don't mind scrolling down some. So that is what we are looking at. The difference that is left over in pickleball would be a total of $34,578 needed to complete all of the pickleball and all the basketball that you see here on the screen. Again, that's $34,578. It would be in addition to the $140,000 that's been approved.
Or are we gonna use 20 that was?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we have $20,000 from the UBMC.
Yeah.
Where we can apply to that.
Wherever you'd like that to go.
And the council did make a decision just to go ahead and apply it to that. And I let Jim Marshall know that that's where we would like that. Would you mind reaching out to him and following up
No problem.
with him?
So that puts us at 14,000 in additional funds that we need to allocate.
So, and when we make a motion, I would just probably mention in the motion, well, if we want to make that contingent on getting that $20,000 funding, we can do that. I just want to jump that up.
I have a question just on the acrylic basketball backboards. I just wondered, are those pretty sturdy? Like, are they?
Yeah, I mean, they're designed for outdoor use. They do say a lot of cities are putting those in instead of those white ones.
Okay.
This year that we've had. I believe there's some bids in there for.
Yeah, there was. I saw bids. I just was curious. I wasn't expecting acrylic, and I'm not opposed. I was just curious if that's where a lot of people are going.
Yeah, that's where a lot of cities and schools and that are going with outdoor fixed hoops instead of the acrylic.
Okay.
They do have a little bit of a warranty, but talking with the companies and places that have used and installed them, they've been really durable, aside from somebody throwing rocks at them.
Right.
Things like that. But that's what's been recommended, and for the price, it does increase the price, probably about $1,000 a hoop, but the look and playability you get out of them is much better.
With,
No, I like them. I just was surprised.
with the striping, is that just lines on the cement? You're not painting the whole court or?
So they will paint the whole court in lines. It'll be a regulation college basketball size court. If you're out of bounds, your 3-point lines, your.
But what I'm saying is it's just the lines.
Just the lines,
So
yeah.
you're not trying to service the court.
No
Okay.
surface in there.
Okay.
The drinking fountain that is there is actually not functional. It hasn't been for years, and so that will be coming out. There will not be a drinking fountain there, but it hasn't been used for years after talking to Dustin and Kirby's crew. We may leave an option as they start excavating water line there, if there's a way to leave it somehow. So that we will do that. Why that may be obsolete.
Is that drinking fountain located
Right.
against the building?
No, it's in the middle of the ground, just south of the courts.
Right across
They're
the
drinking
opening of the
fountain.
current basketball courts.
Really? Yes. I've never even noticed it.
Is there one on the bathrooms? Like, is there one on that exterior of the bathrooms?
I'm sorry, what?
Is there a drinking fountain on the exterior of the bathrooms at the park? Yeah.
Yeah, on both sides.
So we already have one.
Yeah.
We have two. Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah, we don't need it then.
Maybe we can change the bathroom one to one that fills up water bottles in the future.
Take note of that.
If it can be winterized.
We do that. We do that. Yeah.
In regards to the fencing, the current slope will match the current basketball courts. If you drive by, you can see there's a little bit of a grade there, so they will match that. So it will be lifted up where you park, it'll be raised a little bit. They'll match that and then just kind of slope it going away towards the swimming pool. Right now, the fencing bid, it's actually only bidding half of the court to where the slope will stop. So we'll do a 12-foot fence, just like is down there now where people park, and then it'll go to a 6-foot fence halfway down the court on both sides to kind of keep people from stepping on.
How much, how far will it be exposed above the ground on that east end?
Cement.
Yeah. When you say from stepping off, how?
I haven't measured it, I think it was 6 to 8 inches. It may be in that concrete bid in more detail.
I was just wondering if we need to do a little landscaping around it to make it look look good, instead of just a cement wall, maybe cement kind of. Coming out, but, yeah. Okay. And how confident are you? So you went through everything, you got the cement, the painting, the fencing, all of it. Feel pretty confident.
Yeah, I'm confident. They're ready to start tree removal this week. We can get approvals. Cement has to be scheduled at least a week in advance for a project like this. And, they said they'd like to start cement July 1st. And I said, well, what about 4th of July? We have pickleball events going on and things like that. He said, oh, we'll be on it that day, cutting lines and doing things like that. So.
And lighting. Tell me about the lighting.
Yeah, we had GS Electric come out and he looked at it. He recommends we install some LEDs that are currently would be on the opposite side of the current pole.
Just shining the opposite direction.
Yeah, shining the opposite direction.
Good idea.
Yeah, I think it'll save us a lot of money.
And without trees, I mean, no obstruction.
Dustin, there wasn't any pipes or any lines underneath where we're gonna put the courts, right?
No, Aaron and I looked at it, and I think we can put in a location where.
Okay. Cause I know we talked about over by the pool, but there was a line there we didn't wanna cover.
I think we got lucky, and we can put it around those pipes.
Okay.
Jeremy, how's the switch and things been working on those lights on the current one? I just want to make sure that that's all up to par too.
It's not, and that's part of what the budget in there has, is what we would need to upgrade the lights for the pickleball court, so they LED and don't blind all the neighbors, and then get a better day-night timer and switch so they don't just stay on.
Yeah,
Is
and that's
lighting bid
including-
including that, or you have a separate lighting bid that's including that
So all of the courts, pickleball and basketball courts will be done.
with this
With
bid?
this.
It's all included in this number he's talking.
Because I know you had some problems there, and I just want to make sure that if we're going to put lighting there, it's
Yeah,
fixed.
we're
Correctly.
A better switching so that they're on for an hour at a time instead of that, and they don't blast the neighbors as well either. And the ones don't have that overshadow that the old ones do.
Okay. Glad to hear that.
There will be some green space still in between the court and the ambulance building. We could plant some trees or some different things there if you'd like to do any landscaping.
I think Dustin loves the trees.
As long as they're clean.
You know, some of those honey locusts or something like that with the very small leaves that just blow away, and they provide pretty good shade. Cool.
I do have a question on cement. The person doing the cement, do they have the equipment to make sure that that big, huge area will be pretty flat? I mean, that seems like it would be kind of challenging to do. And if we're going with the lowest bid, are they gonna make sure that that's flat as can be?
Yeah, I'm pretty confident that they will do an amazing job. It's Silver Stock Construction, which is Clayton, Illinois.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
I think he's done cement once or twice.
Some pads, I know.
Yeah.
Make sure that, yeah, just wanted to double check on that. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Looks pretty good.
I think we move forward. I move we approve and we'll figure out the other 14,000. I think there's some other opportunities that I think we can come up with it, but I'd like to get started ASAP, so I think we need to move.
You have a motion, I think that includes the 20,000.
Right.
Okay, and would you make a note to give it Jim? Okay. All right, we have a motion, do we have a second? Second by Councilman Allen. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion is unanimous, thank you. Now you can just,
Are those trees
well,
down?
which reminds me, we're gonna have to open the budget already, that $14,000.
Potentially.
Okay. All right, sounds good. Thanks, Aaron.
Thank you.
And
Next. We have a proposal from Elsa's Tacos to come and operate in the cafe at the golf course. Here's her proposal, the general menu and some of the things that she intends to do. We have had experience with her. Earlier this spring, she did bring on a Friday for Fridays. She brought up a food truck and parked in the parking lot. And seemed to have a really good experience. She wants to come back and try and be inside, not in her food truck. She is at Moon Lake. She would like to be here now, but she already committed to Moon Lake with her food truck. So she's up there for the summer, but says she would be available in August to come down. Typically in August, the golf course slows down when school starts and the hunts start and everything else. We do see a drop. So I feel bad that, she's coming in at that time or wanting to come in at that time. And I did explain this to her, but she's still interested in coming to try it out and see if it works, that she would be willing to renew with us for next season. Kind of do a trial run for those few months, August through October. She is proposing $200 a month lease agreement. Current one is $600 that we've had in the past for 8 months. Just wanted to bring that to you and get your thoughts on it.
Where it's a trial period for just 3 months, do you think it's worth giving her a try and seeing if it works out? With her understanding that it would probably bump up if it, I don't know, just what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think for us and for her, I think it would be a win-win situation. Let her come in and try it. It will be during some slow times, so it'll give her a pretty good idea. She wants to continue on, next year with a little bit higher lease, and it would also, give the golfers and the community another option of somewhere to have some food. So I think it'd be a great opportunity for us and her.
Do we have anyone in there right now?
We don't.
Are we contracting anything with High Country just to get sandwiches in there like we did in the past, or we're just
We've been just selling drinks and snacks and chips.
and those are all being sold through Roosevelt City. Well, personally, I feel like it's worth a shot.
I do too.
Give it 3 months and see what she thinks.
A way to help with some kind of advertising, because we seem to have a lot of turnover there. Can't make it work, but so it's Facebook page. You guys to help them out a little bit.
Yeah, we'll definitely do our part to promote them as much as we can.
It's a tough deal because you have just it's a kind of an isolated area away from the beaten path, and probably same people that go there every day for the most part. But yeah, well, it's worth giving it a shot.
I would move we approve based on the recommendation of Aaron.
Okay, got a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Second, thank Councilman Goodrich. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, unanimous.
Thank you.
Thanks, Aaron. 8, 2, 3.
Yeah, and that's the old resolution. We want to discuss Josh, I think. Ryan, or I can tell you what's on it, but I'm not sure exactly what Josh wanted to recommend. Under the old resolution, it said that the city council and I think just the recorder, we may have to look at it again, are the people who can add things to the agenda. My memory of when this was created was the reason for having the recorder on there is if there was urgent city business, usually having to do with the budget, that they would be able to add it on. But then the reason this is coming up is there's also, it's really just a form, I wouldn't say a process, where someone can come in, fill out this form, asking to be put on the agenda, and then staff has been putting those on, is my understanding. Is that right? So then when we looked at this resolution, there's not provisions in here for that. And so we're wanting to get some clarification. And I think that Josh probably had a recommendation on how he wanted to do that. I know one thing that he and I had talked about, but I don't know if he had made a final decision, is switching it from the recorder being able to add stuff to the city manager adding, and then if the recorder finance director had something they needed, it would be going through Josh. But he also, I think, wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about that form for the public, adding things and wondering if you wanted him to have the discretion that to still keep the form and then him be able to put things on, but I know that he had some reservations about turning into kind of a gatekeeper too. I'm wondering if that was a good idea. And maybe if the public has something that they want put on the agenda, that they should be going to one of the council members directly and asking them to put it on rather than filling out a form and giving it to staff. We also, though, could keep the form. This isn't something I talked to Josh about, but keep the form and then forward it to the council members rather than staff even reviewing it or doing anything. And then any of you could decide to add it if you felt like it's something you want to talk about.
Yeah, you know, my thought is if we had a place for the public to request, and then maybe have those sent to the council, you know, so we can look through an archive of potential things, and I don't know. Maybe that doesn't work because they're usually time sensitive, so. But I think that somebody on the council should, I don't know, I'm kind of thinking the mayor where it's his department, like the executive branch is his department, I think. Good for him to give those the approval.
And I'm just trying to think it through as well. Because you're right, it just says the council or the mayor or the city recorder are the ones that can put it on there. The reason we went to the city recorder is because when the form's filled out, then they would be the ones to get that form and then put it on the, what we've had a problem with is if somebody puts something on the agenda that can be handled outside of the meeting or that may be controversial, like some of the recent things that we've had that are more disputes between neighbors and not necessarily things that we need to be handling as a council. I think there needs to be some form of gatekeeper type action with that, because those are definitely things that we can handle outside. They don't need to be brought before the council, and they're actually better handled outside of a council meeting. So I get that, but the other thing that this does, and maybe it's a good time to reiterate this, is it does give timelines of when things are supposed to be on the council agenda, so that gives time for myself or the council ability to look at those and say, wait, we're not going to handle that in this type of setting. Does that make sense? So for the council, for staff, that's another thing that we need to make sure that we're adhering to is, what does it say?
8 days.
8 days.
So that I can send out the days, calendar days prior to the meeting.
So in practicality, because we do have what would you consider the Tuesday before, 8 days or 7 days?
The Tuesday before, I would consider 7 days since the meeting's on a Tuesday.
Okay, so we've always talked that that is the time when the agenda items need to be on the agenda is by the Tuesday before, and then we have our admin meeting that day, and then we can have the discretion to say, this is everything that's going to be on next council agenda, and these are the things that we don't feel are best.
One thing though, getting it the 8 days enables me to make that draft agenda when I have had items 8 days prior to the meeting, then I can actually provide you with a draft agenda, which I'm not able to do if I give some days.
So do you think?
So I'm in favor of the timeline.
So have everything in by
Monday.
Well,
Monday.
and this is kind of what we were doing too, and this should reflect that, have it in by the Monday, but then we still have our admin meeting on Tuesday.
To finalize.
The difference between items being submitted by that Tuesday versus, you guys making that executive decision to add an item on the Tuesday, I think it's very different.
So do we need to specify the Tuesday that it's a final agenda? No, I mean, yes, agenda items have to be on the agenda by Monday, 5 o'clock. That is presented to the council, or at least the admin staff, and even a draft to the council on Tuesday so that we can discuss it in our admin meeting. Then that Tuesday is finalized, and as soon as it's finalized, then it's uploaded to the public notice website by Wednesday. Does that sound fair?
Yes.
So as we're looking at this, I would like to have that decided, because then that will allow us also, if there is some discretion, or if we want to utilize discretion on what we're going to allow, then we can maybe grab some of those, recognize them and say, look, this is a conflict that needs to be handled with the chief of police, and it doesn't necessarily need to take up 30 minutes of our. Yeah. And not that it's not open to the public, it's just some of those things are left between neighbors.
They're not something you can make a vote on.
Right. And it, yeah, this isn't, we want to hear, that's why we have the public comment period. If we hear, if there are concerns and things like that, a specific concern, you can still get on that, but if it's something that we feel, and even if we deny you coming to council as an official agenda item, you can still come and use your 3 minutes and let us know your opinion on something. So.
I have another thought regarding this policy, and maybe it's not something that needs to be on there, but I'd really like to see like this kind of stuff in like a digital file format. And have that sent out with everything like it in an archive, Teams folder or something like that, like a group folder that we can access. And it just makes it a lot easier because taking all this home and filing a little bit of working to get it from you like a year later would be kind of a tedious process.
There are archived folders that I can give everyone with the Roosevelt email access to, and I in fact I don't know if I have, but I may have already given you all access, so I can go through and make sure all of your city emails have access to those files. That's not.
Is it on Teams or is
It's
it
on Share.
Sure.
Which is functionally the same thing.
You do digitize this though, and make sure that it's on the public notice.
Yes, I get them when ideally, I'm supposed to get those things prior to publishing the agenda. That's my preference. And so anything I have prior to finalizing the agenda actually goes out with the agenda. Anything that I receive after that goes out with the
And here's another thing, go ahead. And then I'm going to
just my quick, the emails with attachments is good, and I do appreciate it, but I think like a folder where we can reference certain meetings, materials any day of the year, if we want to go back 6 months.
Right, and I have those
You can do
folders
that
in
on
my
the public
files.
notice
that you can
website.
access.
Oh,
they're all archived on our website, they're all archived.
It's not the most user-friendly. It's not the most user-friendly system, but we also have our new meeting manager software that I've been slowly getting more familiar with, more comfortable with. And that one you can also have access to, or the general public can have access to in a calendar format that also provides a better search functionality and access to archiving the minutes. So that's something I'm also working on, but in the interim, I can definitely give you access to the shared files. That's not an issue.
okay, maybe I'll come talk to you sometime.
One other thing that I think would be helpful that I was going to mention is this type of stuff. So if we don't have do we allow something to be on the agenda? Because the whole point of having it on Monday, approved by Tuesday, out to the public by Wednesday is transparency for the public and convenience for the council so that everyone can come to our meetings educated on what we're going to talk about. So do we want to make it a hard line if we don't have?
Preference would be that requirement. The ordinance, the way I read it now, I think only actually requires that for ordinances. An ordinance or resolution, it must be attached, but I would support any attachment should be there.
And that would mean, and I know the convenience because personally, I want to see it on the public notice website by Wednesday prior to, that was the whole goal. And so it will slow things down a little bit, or we'll just get much better at getting them on time.
Yeah, we'll have a few short agendas.
That's great with short agendas.
I'm thinking there, we might entertain an emergency clause in there, because I can see something coming up. Like, funds, because of the flying ball on the side or something. We're going to the next council meeting.
I know.
Yes, we can do that on a special.
Yeah, I think.
Special. That was just a thought.
I had the same, that I was thinking of that, because I know Ryan brought us one thing, like with water, we had to approve right of what, like, we had to approve that day, and it was actually supposed to be done maybe before, but you didn't know or something. It seems like one of the water, like the
to have 24 hours in advance notice at least. The state code says 24 hours.
Right. I'm just saying that I think there could be some emergency things we'd want, but still falling within the 24-hour requirement.
And that's where the discretion, I think, comes in with maybe with my position or city manager or something like that, to say, yes, that, we'll allow that one on, but it's only case by case basis and very. And whether or not, whether it's the recorder or Josh, I don't think it would be a big deal. Of who it specifies can put that on there. I think Josh is fine, because ultimately I think in the admin meeting, that's when we make the final decisions on what goes on and what doesn't, especially for following proper protocol.
Can you put them both on?
Is
Recorder and manager?
Good.
Is there benefit to one way or the other that way?
For me, the recorder sets the schedule or sets the agenda, and so that I think that was the intent before.
Yeah, we can draft a version with both, but where I think we're gonna end up on this one, we don't have a draft we're working on right now, the old one. And so I think, I'm sitting here taking notes, my plan is that I'll draft a new resolution. I know since there's been discussion, adding Josh, that he was interested in, but I can leave it with both and circulate a draft for whichever meeting you guys tell me you want it on. And then we'll be finalizing it in a future meeting. But I think it's not a bad idea.
Perfect.
Okay, so unless there's anything else, I've taken notes of what you've already said, unless there's something else you want to see in it, I'll get another draft ready and we'll.
There is the ability for the mayor during the meeting to pass over agenda items that were put on there. Okay. So
Yeah,
I don't have to see on there that the JR feels like, last minute. He does it sometimes, where we don't have something finalized, he can just move past it without an issue.
Yeah, and I can expressly state that in there, but there will also be language in there basically saying subject to Utah State Code, then these are the rules that we're going to follow. But there are provisions for emergency meetings and everything that I don't think we have to spell out in this document. Because there's not going to be a reference to state.
Perfect. Any other thoughts? Okay, and you got what you need, Grant?
Yeah, to get started, it'll just be a draft, so we'll probably talk about some revisions in the next meeting too.
Okay.
And hopefully Josh is here to give his input.
Perfect. Okay, with that, then we'll move to the next one, gun range operation discussion. Also has Josh's name on it. I don't know, do you know what he's wanting to talk about with that?
I don't, so I probably can't fill in for him on this.
He hasn't updated me on it either, but I've been putting pieces together, and I guess in the last meeting you guys discussed.
We were talking about open the gates, what time, and I know we actually have a commitment. So we have, what would you call that? The agreement we have between an MOU. So we have a memorandum of understanding between us and Ballard City that we will have the gates open by dusk and then closed at dawn. The other way around. I say that all the time backwards.
Nice.
You know what? I'm tired too. My brain's not functioning very well. But yeah, from
Dawn to dusk.
Dawn to dusk. Dusk to dawn, better. It sounds better. Maybe that's why it's got me confused for that. But I think that's probably what he's talking about. I know they're making some improvements on the 200-yard range now, so that it'll be ready to go ahead and utilize by around August. So they also wanted to talk about, having some type of a soft opening for that, because obviously we still have the 1,000-yard range and a few other things that are going on. But that was a few things. I know WCF, Wildlife Conservation Foundation, who has really donated most of what's going on at the gun range, is wanting to get that to the point where people can utilize it, because they want to show people that the money that has been donated to their foundation is actually going to good use and something that we can utilize. So August is kind of what they're looking at, having all the things done they need to shoot. And I'm guessing that's probably what he was talking about. But at least that's an update, just a heads up for future meetings. And do you have anything else, Ryan?
Yeah, the only thing I want to add to that is the power's pretty close right there to the entrance gate. So if it is an option that you guys are interested in and putting a gate there that can be programmed to open up at certain times, I mean, it's close and you kind of have an idea. I mean, that last bid I got was 20 grand for that. So that's kind of what you're looking at.
If we're on contract, I think that's a good idea, because it's expensive to run staff out there.
Yeah, and we forget, and
I think that was part of the discussion because we don't have a lot of money allocated yet to that project until we get the grant funding. So the thought was, what do we do in the interim until we can afford something like that?
yeah.
If you put it.
So if people lose trash, we still, when we get going, Strata has committed to help with that project, but we need to probably true up that commitment. And they were talking about putting cameras out there as well. So there's a couple of those things that maybe we could work with them on.
Yeah, I'll have a little more time too now that the nature park's almost complete, so we can get looking at it and get
It's
some
not
bids.
complete. We got all kinds of trails we gotta build.
Park.
Outside of the nature park.
I gotta get out of that park. But yeah, the possibility, I mean, right there on that pole too, there's some, I don't know if you've noticed the cameras on that pole already, so.
Are they?
Yeah, it'll be pretty easy to get that entryway cleaned up and secured, so.
Cool. Well, I think that's all we have on that one, really, so. But just a heads up, that's kind of the plan, and then we'll bring it to the council's attention when it gets a little closer. Or if Josh wants to add it on for some reason, he can do that. Interlocal agreement, Motorola Flex public safety system.
We're not quite ready on that one. The attorneys for all of the involved entities have been trying to plan a meeting. We're having a hard time getting schedules coordinated. We're still working on that. So if we can just scratch it and I'll put it back on when we're ready.
Okay. And we'll go to fraud risk assessment. Rhonda.
You have a copy in front of you, I hope. No change from last year. Our points are 335 out of 395. One way we can easily increase this is to put together a formal internal audit function, which is something with Tyler is very doable now. And we've talked about putting something together. So I'm sure that you'll be hearing more from Josh about that. Putting together an audit committee that meets at various times throughout the year and just does some spot checking on some things. A couple of the things that just to give you a little bit of an update with Tyler on top of this, we've put the hard stops in place. So if somebody tries to create a requisition against a line item, they don't have the budget to cover it, it will stop them and tell them that they have to do something. Either find funds in another line item or, come and talk to us about if the budget needs reopened or what have you. But they cannot actually spend money through this system that is not already in the budget.
So you're thinking the internal audit, the formal internal audit function, we could probably maybe by next year, maybe see if we could get that with the Tyler?
It wouldn't take us very much to get us to our risk assessment being very low as to, now we're low. It's not a bad thing.
Well, I remember what it used to be when I first came on the council, so I applaud the efforts and glad to see where we're at. So that's a good thing.
And I don't really know if we need, per se, a motion on this, but it is something that has to be presented to the council It's checked on the audit every year when I go through the annual audit, so I just need to make sure that you had a copy of that had been presented and, you know, very emotional.
I don't know that we need a motion
Yeah.
necessarily, but thank you for the information and good work. And I'm looking at this, 8 and 9, I think should be fairly easy to.
Yeah, another 40 points we could pick up fairly easy.
Okay, so we have 9G, which is approval of purchase. I think we need some discussion on that one before. Yeah, so we're gonna move that one. Rose, we have nuzzles, public spay and neuter. I think that's supposed to be muzzles.
Something like that. But yeah, so what this is it's a program that we're looking to put in place to help our community get their animals fixed. So I brought this up at a few council meetings. There's definitely an overpopulation and an infectious disease problem here in Roosevelt and the county. So that's why we've done a lot of research to get this proposal ready for you. Just referencing back on why this is a problem, 2023 stats, 90% of our intakes came in unaltered. To me, that number is absolutely insane. 516 of the animals that were brought in 2023 were under 5 months old. So that many were born in just the last year. So we're really trying to target that. Usually people's number one reason that they don't get their animal fixed is simply because they can't afford it. And there's also one vet clinic that's close to us, which isn't very cost effective for a lot of people given their pricing. So the goal of this is to offer an affordable program for our community members to reduce the pet population and disease, which in return will lower the shelter intake numbers and disease cases. We did a lot of research, we've contacted a lot of vets, a lot of rescues, and thanks to Nuzzles and Best Friends, we have this program outlined that we're going to put in place. So essentially how this works is we'll be getting these animals fixed through Nuzzles. So it'll be $70 per animal to the citizens. The shelter simply just sets up the appointment and coordinates these appointments. There's a volunteer transporter that will transport them out there. Nuzzles will fix them, that volunteer will bring them back. So it actually doesn't cost us. They will pay us and we will pay Nuzzles. So this is not a cost without a revenue match yet. So we're hoping to do this through the summer because winter is not very logical with the roads and whatnot. We're hoping to do about 8 to 12 runs. Each run we can fit about 20 animals with their van. So we're looking at a minimum of $15,680, which is roughly 8 runs, and a maximum of $23,000, which would just be under 12 runs. So the payment will operate similar to how we currently work with UNIVET on the rabies vaccine. They pay us and then we pay them. So they'll pay us at the time of the spay or neuter, and then we'll pay the run invoices to Nuzzles. And this will also just give them an option to donate if they want. Using Shelter Love, there's a donation option so they can donate to the program or Roosevelt City if they choose to.
Question, when you said revenue coming in, where does that come from?
So they will pay us Roosevelt City, that's $70, and then we will pay Nuzzles. So it's basically just an in and out.
Who pays us?
The public. Yeah, this is for citizens animals.
If they don't abandon their dog.
In that case, there would be a shelter animal and then completely different process.
Okay, so this is only for.
Yeah, this is for public animals to help get them fixed.
What's the normal cost if they went to you and to?
It's hard to say. They base their prices off a lot of different things, including size, doctor time, that sort of thing. On average, I would say around $350.
So this is what we're doing is basically providing quite a discount and an opportunity for people to do it that's more affordable. And we're just the pass through, right, for the money. We collect the money and then we pay them.
And with it as well, it will also include vaccines to limit the disease. So it's $70 for spay or neuter and vaccines.
Would we want to add anything for admin costs on there, or do we just keep it a complete pass through?
With this program, is it Nuzzles or Best Friends? One of them is actually bringing the van out to transport the animals out to have this done and then bringing them back, so we don't have any costs.
Essentially, it's just we coordinate it, so the people come in, we'll put them on their schedule for Nuzzles and we coordinate it. So it's not a lot of additional time.
They come in when you're open already and.
So usually the transports will leave anywhere from 7:30 to 8:30 in the morning, so we have process lined out. We'll give them like form that has, you bring your dog in on this date, you drop it off at this time, you pick it up at this time. So they'll drop them off between 7:30 and 8:30, pick them up in the evening. And they will have to pay before they drop them off.
So there's no risk to the city. They have to pay first when they drop them off.
Yeah.
Is Nuzzles like a nonprofit organization or
So-
a business?
They're a rescue and a vet clinic out in Park City.
Okay.
Yeah, and how this works is normally spay neuters are much more than $70, of course, so Best Friends Animal Society, they're covering the remaining costs after that $70, if that makes sense. So this is contingent upon Best Friends paying that remaining balance.
And so the money that you're looking for covers what?
Spay, neuter, and vaccines. So they just pay us and we pay nothing.
So are you asking for money? It just sounds like,
Technically, yes, but it will come right. It will come in and then it will go out. Like,
so you just need some money up front as you start the process.
Yeah.
But then as you collect the money, it'll go back in.
It operates the exact same way as the rabies does with human vet.
So we don't collect prior to, we collect after the work's performed, but we have to pay.
No, they pay us before they drop it off, and then we'll pay each run invoice. So exact same way as we do Univet. Univet gives us a monthly statement, and then we pay that statement.
That you collect, I guess, what I meant, we're asking for the people that are having the work done on their animal to pay upfront.
Yes.
So we wouldn't, I mean, technically, we're not gonna be out anything.
No.
So I guess
I
what
think
we're
that was
asking
the
is why are you looking for the money? Where's the, what's
Because
the
it
money?
has to go on the budget to get approved, where it's technically money going in and going out.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, so is there a way to add this to our website, like as an option, and then like promote it a little bit? Because I think it's a good idea, and I think if we could get 12 trips out there every summer, I think that'd be great. My only question is there liability for the city where we're kind of coordinating the service?
Not that I can see, because they have a volunteer transporter and they'll have their own agreement with that to cover their transporter. They already have the agreement planned out for the spay and neuter, so we don't have to worry about that because we're not the ones completing the spay and neuter.
Can I surgery over that?
That's my liability is what if the transport crashes, something like that.
Well, and we're taking their money, there's liability to us too, for if the animal dies during the surgery, if it dies during the transport, there is potential liability for us there. We probably ought to have a waiver to help with that. There's limitations to what the waiver can do, we probably ought to have one. It's, I'm trying to think through this scenario and how it works with the fees, where we're collecting it from them, and we probably need to have it on our fee schedule. And we don't yet, do we, Rose?
No, we've been waiting to get this on here for approval.
Okay, what, is Nuzzles wanting to do a contract, or how formal or informal?
Very informal, they've been awesome to work with, they mostly just want to help out the community and help get the animals fixed, so they're not super worried about liability type stuff.
Okay, if somebody is not here, it sounds like when the pet owner shows up, the animal's ideally going directly from them to the transporter, it's never going into the shelter at all.
Technically not, it might stay outside in the kennel for a period of maybe 10 minutes. Like the meeting point is at the shelter, but that's at least it.
You're not planning to make them necessarily wait, though. It's gonna be an option for them to just leave it with you and then you can get it on the transport, or are you gonna?
We can alter it if needed. We were just gonna have outside kennels, so that way, then when the transporter gets there, they can just load them up. So that way they can drop them off from like 7:30 to 8. There's that 30-minute period that they might be in repair.
Okay, and then what are we doing if somebody doesn't show up to pick it up? Is it, assuming we just go into the shelter?
Likely so. It would be just like an abandonment.
There is some liability risk there. In my opinion, it's not huge. The waiver can help. What we could potentially save in the shelter, in my opinion, is offsetting that risk. But you guys need to be made aware so you can make your decision that there is potential liability where the money is passing through us that could include problems with so, or some kind of after.
Can I ask a question? Is there a way that we could just facilitate people coming and let them pay directly to Nuzzles?
It would be very difficult because we won't have a way to know who's paid and what's not, who hasn't, so that puts Nuzzles at risk of not receiving payment.
But what, I guess what I'm saying is we can hold the money, meaning,
Write a check to them for
yeah,
70.
write a check to Nuzzles, hold the money and then just pay them when they take the animal.
Or if there was a way that we could set it up with Nuzzles where, like, they're doing the same thing they do with us, where they pay in advance, and then if they can issue some kind of a number, verification code, something that would then have to be given to put it on the transport, that would get rid of some of the liability for the city if we were never taking the money. We're just letting them basically meet in our parking lot and helping to advertise that.
Facilitate it, yeah, making sure that we're linking them together and everything else, but ultimately the website, you know, whether it's credit card, check, those types of things, they can just go directly to Nuzzles and say, but how does Nuzzles work? In regards to, I know they're coming out here, but obviously they have an operation in Wasatch Front somewhere.
So that's where they'll be transported to. They will be transported to Park City.
So is it Nuzzles, the company that's actually performing the work on the animals?
Yes.
So are they open to the public?
Yes and no.
Okay, how
Like
does that
there
work?
is, I'm not sure exactly how the processes work. They are rescue based, so there is certain services they offer for the public, but I'm not certain on all of them.
So I'm just wondering if we look at the way they interact with the public and then just duplicate that here. Because if they're interacting directly with the public already, then they don't have to, that would be my concern with paying directly, if they don't have a mechanism, if they're just more of a wholesaler and they get paid lump sums for their work performed, then that's one thing. But if they're working, interacting with the public, taking credit cards, checks, those types of things already, then we can just expand that.
They
It's
do
common.
use.
Sorry. Yeah, I was gonna say, it's common with these types of organizations that there's a significant discount because they're working with the shelter. They may or may not be willing to offer it at the same rate if we were doing that direct payment. Because just a lot of times the reason for the discount for them is just that it's going through the local
And that is one of the reasons Best Friends is helping us, is because the Best Friends initiative is help shelters. So Best Friends is covering a lot of these costs for the people.
You mean subsidized, like they're,
Yeah, like they'll pay Nuzzles the remainder beyond the $70.
I see.
So it
That makes a little
probably,
bit of a difference.
yeah, probably won't work for the customer to be paying directly. I think that if we want for this to be an option available to the citizens here, we're probably gonna have to be willing to take on some risk liability.
And with Shelter Love too, the tracking system we use and where we process transactions, it is fairly easy to refund people. If something went bad, it's $70 per animal that you get out, so it's nothing earth shaking. If, say, one of the surgeries went badly, somebody's angry, it's not that big of a cost.
So I think the biggest thing it's just, I think it's a great program. I think it's something we definitely want to utilize. If the council feels comfortable moving forward, that's fine, but I think it would be good to research a little bit, just the liability and how we deal with that.
That was one.
We can approve it with, yeah, go ahead.
Does Nuzzle have any type of waiver that they use?
Yeah, so they use Clinic HQ where we can, that's where we'll upload all of the people, so their name, their animal, that's where we upload to, and then just email them the consent form from the Clinic HQ. So they will be signing a consent form for their animal to be altered.
One other question, Rose. It says the 8 to 12 runs, is that 8 maximum to 12? Or is there a minimum? Like, do we have to guarantee that there's at least 8?
No, so we're basing it on public need, so if we can fill as many as we can fill, we will do.
So there's no minimum that we're guaranteeing that we're gonna send, it's just whatever shows up.
Yeah,
Well, I think this is a needed service, and I know, like, I have a family member out in Wasatch Front who brought their animal out here to get it altered at our vet clinic because our vet clinic is a lot cheaper than a lot of the ones out there. So, but I think it's really needed. Like you said, 90% of animals come in unaltered, and I mean, I'm in huge favor of this myself, and I think it ought to be prioritized. I mean, take care of Rose and their needs.
Is that a motion?
I'll make the motion, yeah, and that we do it and we prioritize it and make sure that we put together a waiver just to cover the city's part in it.
Okay. Sounds like we have a motion on the table.
So the thing that will have to happen first is we're gonna have to have a public hearing and add it to our fee schedule. I'll go ahead and draft a waiver specific to this, but just to make sure that we're mainly this is for Rose, is that we're gonna have to wait until the fee schedule is amended before we can. So you can start gearing up and everything, but we can't accept any money until the fee schedule is finished.
Okay, and so the motion basically to move forward, contingent on, public hearings and a few other things, and then Councilman Allen had a second for that. Any other questions, further discussion? All in favor? Yeah.
I'll ask Rose. I have a couple other questions, but it's not stuff.
Any opposed? Did we get all the ayes? Motion passes, and then, if we can get that together, and then obviously we'll have, but that'll give you the direction you need to move forward. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for all your efforts to try to find something like that. That's awesome.
Excited to get it into place. Thank you.
Drew, multi-jurisdictional building inspection agreement, and then also the Moonlight easement, and I'm gonna sneak out in 2 seconds while you're explaining.
Thank you, Mayor. Excuse me. So in response to the House Bill 518 that they recently passed in the state of Utah, we are now required to provide at least 3 backup building inspectors within the surrounding entities to comply within a 72-hour window, which will have a list compiled of 3 inspectors that would be available. So we have contracted, we would like to contract with Uinta County, Maple City, and Vernal City. They have already signed the agreement amongst their 3 and invited us to sign with them as well. And basically, we would be on the hook for up to 8 hours per year of services to those entities. After that, it would be an $86 per hour plus mileage. And the chances of this happening are very, very slim, that we would need to rely on the other entities, but due to the fact that they did pass this, we have to comply. So Grant has reviewed this contract, and he's not in here. He did not find anything at fault with this. And we would, as staff, look for approval from the city council.
There's Grant.
There's Grant. Just mentioning that you did review this multi-jurisdictional inspection service agreement that is called. So we would, as staff, look to receive approval unless there's any questions.
So this meets the requirement of new legislation in Utah to allow third-party building inspectors.
So it's not third party. We have to have up to 3, a list of 3 potential inspectors that are licensed, certified. And this basically would take care of that and satisfy the
So becoming a building inspector now is more of like a state certification, and we can hire those people?
So it's not a state certification, it's an international certification, as well as a license with DOPL as well, which the other jurisdictions have licensed inspectors, as do we.
Okay.
But we do have to have a list compiled of up to 3 different entities.
Okay, so
It's not like you get to now choose between the 3 available options. It's basically their backup to our building inspector if one's not available, and then the rates in here are kind of high, and so there's a good incentive to make sure that we have ours available.
Okay.
backup option. I should
And would we be a backup for the others as well? Isn't that correct? That's what I thought.
Okay. Make sure we get the same rate we're giving them when we
Yeah,
do
by
that contract.
Okay.
Drew, there had been some concern from at least one other entity about the rates. Has that been provoked to change, or is everybody just agreeing?
Everybody's pretty well signing on. The rate, like Grant mentioned, was a little high, but to discourage maybe utilizing that, I think that was probably a wise move, was talking through this with some of the other entities. Like I said, the chances of us actually needing that service or them needing our service is very, very minimal. I don't see it happening, but in the event it does, at least the rate, we will be covered.
Is there a state requirement now that requires entities to inspect within a certain time frame?
Yes, so within 72 hours.
Okay. Okay.
And that is really what's for.
Right. So I figured, okay.
I think it's a smart way to cover the three to work together with those other communities, so.
The other entities did most of the footwork on this contract and invited us good faith, so this would be a good gesture, I think, as well.
Well, I would move we approve them based on the recommendation from Drew.
Motion,
I'll second
second by
it.
Councilman Bear. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? It is the 18th today, not the 24th. I'm running on about 3 or 4 hours of sleep for the last, I don't know how long. Not working very well.
We're glad you're here.
Oh,
Okay.
New Lake Electric easement.
So this is, excuse me, with the UCA, Utah Communication Authority, that we brought to you before on the Art Hill. They want to put the 911 service antenna on a cell site that we are renting to Stratton. They need an easement, Moonlight needs an easement to get power provided to that location, provide the necessary power for transmission services. So this agreement is with Moonlake and it's for the easement. It is roughly about 300 foot. And that is what we're bringing to you for approval. If there's any questions.
Any questions?
I have a question on the state, and I work at Moon Lake, I don't see a conflict, but I'm just stating that for the record, so I think I can still vote on.
Would you like to make a motion? Now that you stated it all. Okay.
Move to approve.
Do we have a motion? Do we have any further discussion, questions?
no, I'll second it.
Second by Councilman Rosenberg, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Thank you, Drew.
And you still up, Drew?
Yeah, titles 10 and 12. These things are, this is the gift that keeps on giving, right?
I just put it on as a joke. So Title 10, we are good with. We did get your approval last time. Title 12, we did need direction to move forward regarding the golf course and access.
In 12, it's not just the golf course, right? Like there's the nature park and
Right, correct. The main concern was the golf course.
yeah, that's what's been coming up, but we're not getting to other things. This is my thoughts on the golf course, just because we've had a lot of back and forth. And I kind of would like to know Aaron's input on this too, but we've talked a lot in here about the walking, but there's the issue of people golfing without paying, and there's the issue of people abusing the carts and people being on the course without permission on maybe motorcycles or whatever. What, has there been discussion before about putting cameras up around the golf course that would kind of help with that? And if we could get some data back from those, it would kind of help us know maybe which of those rules we need to vote on and enforce. What, and then going forward, those cameras would help you with a lot of those issues that are happening that shouldn't be happening there. I don't know, just would that be helpful?
Yeah, we would definitely be open to having cameras out there where it's feasible.
I mean, just kind of maybe the most problem locations or where you think people are sneaking on to golf without paying, like just if we could pick a few target spots and then you could come back to us and say, you know, this is what we're catching on camera, and then we'd know better how to move forward with that.
Is it a major problem?
I mean, it's definitely a lot better than it used to be.
It's a problem with the abuse of the carts. The way the carts are being treated on the course is a problem.
Yeah.
They get out of sight of the workers, and not all of them, but certain people are. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. We have proposed, there's an internal GPS where you can actually geofence the golf carts. You can control their speed and stuff like that. I have put that into the budget. I'm not sure. I was gonna look into that after tonight and see if that was approved or not. That would solve a lot of our golf cart issues. It is fairly expensive to do that. It's about $20,000 a year. But that would eliminate a lot of our.
That wouldn't eliminate the people that are golfing and not paying though, where the cameras would help.
Yeah, absolutely.
Some of
Cameras would
that.
be great. So I'll definitely look into that and come back with some information for you.
What we have a marshal? We've had
Several marshals.
Yeah, we have about a dozen right now. They're volunteers. We have them on shifts in the evenings. That's typically when we see most of the abuse happening is in the evenings, or mornings, afternoons of the weekends. So we do have marshals out there. Again, they can't be everywhere, so if they're on the front line, you know, we have to send them to the back when we get a phone call, if we get a phone call of abuse.
So a thought that I had where we have marshals is because I golf so much and I've golfed all over the country. Who's kidding? One golf course that I did go to though, I think it was in Florida. They have a different color flag or something like that they give those that have paid.
And goes on the cart.
Yeah, so it's very easily identifiable of who's paid, who is not paid. And so you just have a little something that you can see from quite a ways, and you can tell if somebody's paid or not. I know maybe that can be duplicated, but they wouldn't know, you know. I don't know. It's just a thought. There's a couple of things that I think we could do that would help the marshals out to know who's paid, who hasn't paid.
Yeah.
Those types of things. I mean, Lagoon, you get a stamp. I don't know.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
something that's
that as well.
And not, I think what Councilman Goodrich has said is also makes sense, but just some things to help our, the marshals that are trying to patrol that.
And is it, I haven't been super involved in this last council meeting, but, is there a time that we open and close, and do we allow people in there after hours or before? I'm just curious on
We
how
discouraged it, with nothing being in policy, we haven't enforced a whole lot. Yeah, our hours are basically.
Dawn to dusk.
On to dusk.
Not dusk, but dawn.
And we have people there selling.
And that's to do night golf.
Do we have people in the office from dawn to dusk?
Yeah.
We do, okay.
So I guess what I'm wondering is if we can look at the rest of 12 and maybe look at doing cameras on the golf course and put off anything final there, kind of looking at what your biggest issues are there. And that's, I know the nature park's in there and we need to finalize that. You know, there's some other things we haven't been getting to because we're kind of been swamped with golf course stuff. That's my thoughts, but.
Any other thoughts? I know we had a good meeting last time. You know, my personal feeling with the golf course, I remember moving up on the golf course and feeling like I should be able to utilize that and realizing that, you know, it is a designated area. I know there was some discussion with that last time. But I agree, whatever it is, I think we need to make a decision to get that. We can change it at some point too, to have something at least codified to where we can act and have some guidelines would be good. And if we need to adjust it, we can always adjust it.
I'm good with the rules if you draw. Yeah, there.
So there's more to that as well?
When I was looking at it, there was.
So, Sunshine, could you go to the nature park one?
Do you know what the?
Yeah, it's under parks and it will be the,
You know, I skipped over this one on purpose, right?
yeah.
Oh.
So we have cemeteries, we do have parks, and, all of those in Title 12. The ones that took, or have the biggest changes would be the nature parks, that is a new, we have facility.
Was there any changes to the cemetery or?
A couple of clarifications, yeah.
Anything
Nothing,
particularly.
a lot of clarification, getting rid of some of the perpetual care and annual maintenance, which has been updated since the 80s. It's the last time that.
There's a separate section for. 12.24 is parks, and then we move into cemeteries, I can see that for cemeteries.
It's in there just under nature park individually.
Is this the current document or is this
Yes,
the
I
proposed
downloaded it.
changing?
This is the proposed changes, and I downloaded it off of our facing.
Does it have the red lines in it?
Yeah, it does.
Are they?
For some reason, the red lines don't all come through now. You download the PDF.
Well, then, because then it's all new, so it might not be in there at all, if it's, because it would all be redlined, because the nature park is all new.
Slow, so slowly, so I was like, oh, pull it off of there.
I think those hyperlinks are pretty cool, by the way.
Yeah, they are.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, appreciate those. I'm gonna go back.
All right, I thought this would be faster, apparently it's slower.
So we did have this discussion about the nature park and here several months ago, we did add in a few things as far as what type of vehicles can be in there, motorized or non-motorized bikes or not. E-bikes of that nature. We did clarify that in the new vehicle.
So what is your recommendation? I haven't read it. To be honest, what is your recommendation on the e-bikes and things like that?
Well, as a staff, we did talk about it. I think the e-bikes. Bicycle, e-bike was considered a motorized scooter, I believe.
Now, what was that? Sunshine?
My understanding was the state did not allow us to regulate e-bikes separately. Bicycles, you have to allow e-bikes, which would put them in a different class for motorized
In
scooters.
St. George, they have like a speed limit, so that the bikes can't go with
That's what we just can't prohibit. We allow, my understanding is we can't allow bikes and prohibit e-bikes. We can prohibit bikes. Okay.
I think the intent was to have bikes.
Yeah, yeah. That's what I gathered when we were going over the rules and regulations, that bikes was gonna be allowed, so.
Are there going to be painted lines on those at all? Divider lines or anything?
We can, I just haven't made it that far. That was part of that finishing touches in the budget, you know, just those kind of things,
I
so.
don't know that we need anything. I'm just wondering. I think
There it is.
Wow.
So it's somewhat short and sweet.
But yeah, which is basically our same current.
So the those 5, does it go on to the next page? Oh, no, 6.
Can you go back up so we can read through this?
Oh, sorry.
I just want to just briefly.
It says no motorized vehicles, so,
Allowed on the grass or within the nature park.
or in the nature park.
Allow excessive noise there.
So we've got to probably define motorized vehicle a little further.
Yes, right, yes. Yeah, we gotta define that motorized section.
If we're gonna do no motorized vehicles, do we want to allow electric vehicles, because they're not tech, are they Yeah, a little electric motor in them, but.
Well, are you talking electric wheelchairs?
Texas class one is a bike. It's just power assist basically. Anything beyond that is motorized vehicle. But I don't think you're gonna police it or, check over his bike or.
You have a point.
I think motorized vehicles with excessive noise should be.
Open it up again.
And push anything over,
I think the intent here too is to keep like the golf carts out and the side by sides and little motorbikes
Yeah.
from Balhan through there, because it does look
So-
like a trail that they can get on.
In my mind, it's a walking, biking path.
Yes.
That's it. So bikes would be limited to,
class one.
yeah, something like that. And, I think that,
Should we provide an exception for electric bikes? I mean.
well, class one is an electric assist.
It is a class.
And then we may want to make the exception for motorized wheelchairs or something.
State code already does that. You
So-
say a motorized, the state code already trumps that, and says you can't make, if we put it in our rule, we couldn't enforce it anyway, so.
Quick question, have we looked at St. George and a few other cities that actually have walking, biking paths and just,
That's where this came from. I was actually the community consultant group that we're contracted with extracted this for under jurisdiction. ERC.
Should we slow the rest of those, or we still working on this?
I think we're through those, but I think we should change number 5 to class ones. Yeah, which would basically be bikes.
You can do that.
No, you
car
can't
trails and paths for pedestrians and non-motorized wheel transportation groups. So this, is motorized wheelchairs classified as,
So in the state code automatically exempts, like, personal assistive devices.
Do we want to make people stay on trails? I don't know. I grew up in Murray Park, and so I was always in the river there, and it was a lot of fun, but, I mean, we can do that. I know that we're in different times, so. But I'm just thinking about, like, how we can make this.
Well, we do have a lot of habitat restoration and things that's been planted down there, so I don't know if you want to make it huts and trees or not, but.
No, I agree
It's
with
your
you.
call. I mean, we got enough trails throughout the park that there's plenty of opportunities.
So it specifically talks about wetlands there, and I don't think there is wetlands, is there?
Yes, there is.
okay. I just had a thought, I know it's kind of an oddball, but you are going to have some people possibly want to cross-country ski on these trails. So I'm guessing we would want to allow that.
Some of the first discussions with golf course rules, because that's currently allowed for a golf course.
It is.
I don't think we've discussed if we're gonna do winter maintenance on those trails down there, so I actually suggest what if we allow. Don't do seasonal trail maintenance, allow cross-country skiing.
That's what I would prefer, because from a certain time of year and certain time of year, and maybe it's just, if the snow is so deep or whatever, then the trails are off limits.
You get snowshoers too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
sections of that trail that's gonna be so shady that hardly sees sunlight.
Yeah.
It's gonna be tough keeping it clean.
I just want to make sure that whatever we have for the golf course, we have similar language for the trails.
I think we ought to put little signs out though for areas that we have done restoration work, because people aren't gonna go out
They're
there.
actually working on that. There's gonna be some signs for don't mess around here, it's this species going on.
I think that's nice for I mean, you don't want signs everywhere, but like something designating areas as natural areas that we don't want people on. That's great.
Stay on the path.
So do we want to add some winter language in there as far as cross-country skiing?
I don't know. Grant, what are your thoughts? Do we need to add it, or do we just allow it?
I think you could go either way. That's what's in here. I don't know that we need to expressly allow it, because as a general rule, if there's something that's not prohibited as loud.
Mhm.
Right, you could go either way. I don't think that you need to. I think it's implied that it's loud. You know, so it's-
Well, and we could always revisit if there ends up being a problem, right? I can't imagine that. I can't imagine a problem, but I agree, Grant, I don't think we need to put it in, but just monitor, and if there, if it becomes a problem, like Ryan goes out there and there's all kinds of, issues, then obviously we'd have to come back and revisit that, but.
Mhm.
Another thought, that pavilion just reminded me of it. I'm assuming you guys want this pavilion that's down there on the same schedule that you gotta reserve it.
Yeah.
What about the amphitheater?
I would say the same thing.
You can use it if it's not reserved, if you want to reserve that way.
Okay.
I think the rest of that looks good, to me, so.
So for next meeting, we'll put this on with a public hearing, hopefully for adoption with the changes that's been recommended. As far as the golf course one, we were gonna approve this by next meeting. What would you like staff to do in the meantime?
I would say, let's come up with a consensus on the golf course to move forward, even if it is, not allowing, I mean, obviously, we don't want people coming on that don't pay, we don't want people walking on it that don't pay, like, all of those things we just incorporate, and I like.
There's two things in the golf course that we've had a lot of discussion about that I would like to see taken off. And council can weigh in on that. The one is can't step foot on, and then we've talked about how a lot of people who live there go and clean the leaves off the backside. I think that one's a little harsh. And then I think I'd like you to take off the walking, jogging, and let's evaluate that for a year and see where the problem is. One of the gentlemen that was here last week that talked against it, he came to my house before, he was at my house about a month ago. I've known him and loved him my whole life. And I said, how often are you golfing? And he said, every day. And I said, how often is walking a problem? He's golfing every day. Did I say walking? And he's like, it's not right now. And I think there's a little bit of a disconnect. Like, I wonder if maybe the survey we did where people said, where do you want these things? And people put a walking path on the golf course on the survey. I think the walking that's happening for the most part is happening before or after the golfers are there. And that same gentleman, his wife has walked with my mom for 20 plus years on the golf course before the golfers are there. And so for me personally, everything else in the golf course I think is great, but take out the don't step foot on, because lots of people that are there cleaning up golf course leaves off their fence line. And a lot of people that live there have golfers trespassing on their property as well. And so if you're telling property owners don't step, then you're gonna they're gonna want you to be like enforcing the other way too. But everything else in there I'm comfortable with, but I think those two we need to kind of look and adjust. So if the council was comfortable delaying the walking part for now and taking off the don't step foot, and I know where that's coming from. They don't want people taking on their golf cart and golfing without paying, but everything else under the golf course part, I'm comfortable with. Those two things I'd like maybe to be reconsidered.
Well, we can always, we can discuss it in the next meeting in the public hearing and things like that. Ultimately, that would be just a suggested, I wouldn't say a rough draft because it's more like a, yeah, so it's not rough, it's more proposed, but we can fine tune some of those if there are councilmen that feel strongly one way or the other, or the public. And so, I think we're far enough along, but yeah, let's get it ready. I'm okay with the suggested changes. But ultimately, we're not making the decision. To me, we can finalize those. I think we're far enough along.
My thought is we should redline the red line with her suggestions, just maybe remove those and stuff, just so we can kind of see that.
Make annotations to show that that's a suggestion and an option.
Yeah.
So I was just thinking we could put it with what we have drafted with an option.
One other thought I'm having, on these ordinances, I love that, rural community consultants is going through redlining and doing clerical and updating references and all that kind of stuff. I think that should be its own issue that we vote on prior to going through these other issues, and I think we should address each change with substance as a single issue thing. So we have like the full, red line with fixing little things that aren't really substantial at all. And then maybe bring up the other things on the agenda rather than saying Title 10 or Title 12, bring each thing that's being changed in addition to just the little revisions separately. I think that'd be a better way to do future titles as we go through them, yeah. Because I like that all the little changes are being made, clerical and reference and stuff like that, but I think it would be great for us to know exactly I think y'all understand what I'm saying, but.
Yeah, and in the future, it's not gonna be this broad, right? We're coming with a lot of years of update.
Lots,
So,
Yeah.
this is kind of a broad stroke.
Yeah, I'm thinking even like if we're doing chapter, Title 13 or 14 next month or something like that. I think it would be good to approve all, I don't know how we do that, because they've already done all the revisions, so.
So we do have Title 15 to come before you after these two, that'll be the last one. And it is available on our website with the red line version of everything that they changed for everybody's review, so transparent, the public can review and make comment, anybody can. That is available, so.
Yeah.
That's a good comment. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Drew. Expenditure approval,
I move we approve the financials. I saw them and didn't see any problems.
motion,
I'll second it.
second by Councilman Goodrich, all in favor?
Aye.
And capital projects update. And then city manager report will forego.
You just had one thing you want me to tell you. It's kind of the same thing that I want to tell you too, so. Little update on the projects, things are going really good. We're gonna see a lot of changes here in the next month. I mean, things are gonna be getting open and stuff, so kind of exciting to actually see these projects come to completion. So the sports complex, I don't know if you drove up there today, they're laying sod. They've got one field done, so it's gonna take them about 7 days to get all the sod in just by transporting and getting it out, so. And then all reds will be taking care of it 6 to 7 weeks. So they'll be running the sprinklers and taking care of the sod, so we're guaranteed that we'll make it through these hot days, I guess, so. Sure, the water bill's gonna go up. Also with the sports complex, the lights are working. I haven't seen them on yet, but Dustin keeps bragging about how he can run his phone. He's not here. So we'll have him turn them on for us one of these nights.
Let me know when you do that.
Yeah, that's pretty long.
Dust it on.
The dugouts are near completion, the benches are in.
Did they fix the concrete?
Yeah, the hiccup is the concrete. Yeah, so Jones and Mill isn't here tonight, but I also wanna kind of give them a shout out for them too as well, because they've been working hard on trying to get this project and keeping it between the lines, and we've had a lot of bumps along the way, but I think we'll have a good product in the end, so. And, so any questions on the ball fields? When is it gonna open? It seems to be the major one.
When it's finished.
After the sod has had the 6 to 7 weeks?
Yeah, at least. Maybe have a fall tournament, I don't know.
I will say, if you, on a side note, if you ever get a chance to go down to Jones and Danell and have them taking a little tour, that it's pretty cool what they do with checking like cement and different things. And Jordan actually broke some concrete he had set up, and it was pretty cool how much PSI he had on it and stuff, just to show. But they do a good job of testing that and stuff. So anyway,
yeah, for sure. Then another, and I don't want this to get out too much, but we may have someone who's gonna, a company that may donate
They're looking at the options of things that we took off. And so if we do have to tear the cement, or when we do tear the cement out and they choose that, we may be back in here talking. Have to make a hopefully easy decision, depending on what they want to do and how much they want to donate. So good news there. The Innovation Hub, I don't know if you've been in it lately. It doesn't look like much is going on the outside, but the inside they painted it. I have to check to see if they're alive in there today. Not one. Probably shouldn't even say this in public meeting, but there wasn't one window open and they're painted away in there.
I stopped by yesterday, tried to go in and they had the plastic down in front of the door and I kind of lifted up and could see they were spraying and I just walked away because I wasn't going in with that, all those fumes and stuff.
Yeah, it looks awesome. It just opened it up too. It looks clean, it looks bigger, it's gonna be very nice. And so it kind of give you a time frame on that. The lights, the carpet, the tile, the rock is all gonna be happening at the same time next week. So hopefully by the end of this month, we'll have all of that done too as well.
Hey, question, so, just for disclosure, and maybe Grant will have, some thoughts on this, but I was asked by the subcontractor who's doing the tile to assist with tile. Is that gonna be a conflict, or is that problematic in any way? Okay. I'm gonna be helping with the tile, so.
He hired it out, we hired him, and he's good.
Right, yes, but I just want to, be working on the city property and getting paid by somebody who's getting paid by the contractor. Anyway, just letting you know.
That's nice, you'll help them.
Hey,
I asked Dave to help me, so my house, she said no.
So if it's crooked, we know who to blame.
Yeah.
The gun range, the mayor already kind of updated a lot on that, so if there's any concerns or questions there.
How much longer for that study before we?
Oh my heck, I wish I need a
crystal ball,
more shinier, pokier or something to get things moving on. But yeah, I asked Jeff and we're hoping here soon. That's all I get, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is it the people we contacted to do the study that's taking so long then? Because they're just waiting, we have.
EA studies.
On the gun range, there was a comment that came up. Did we approve money towards the road, a certain amount towards that road? When we started the gun range, did we approve any amount? Because I know we did, with the gun range, we pounded a little bit differently, and I mentioned this to Aaron when we were talking about with the gun range, because we haven't had an overall project approved, we've been approving every small project that goes on out there, like the power lines and things like that. Yeah. So did we approve an expenditure for the road of a certain amount?
We did when we were working on an MOU with.
Allard City, I was thinking the same thing. It seems like there was something in that.
Yeah, we haven't paid a bill towards that. That was.
No, because right, but there were some rocks that were hauled originally before XCL came and helped us with the road. They were hauling rocks from the gun range and dumping them off on the road. And so there was a bill for that could be coming from WCF, and I wanted to see if we had an approval.
We did up to $50,000.
Okay, that's the best thing. So we did already approve that amount. And that's kind of what I was wondering.
They gave me a bill for the nature park to bring some of the boulders into the nature park, but it was below 5,000.
Well, and that's what I'm thinking, because they were, I think the bill was going to be 25, and that kind of shocked me because there wasn't a lot of property off to the side there. And it's a close haul, so it's not like there's a lot going on, but, so we'll look at that. I just wanted to first, I remember talking about that. I remember discussing it. I just couldn't remember if we didn't official approval of the set amount.
We did, when we were doing the MOU with Ballard, and it was up to $50,000, and it would have been in January of 23.
The other thing that we just need to be cognizant of, and we might want to do it sooner than later, is we did commit that we would use a certain amount of road base, road for that project. I think it was in that same motion. And that's something that I think if we're going to do it, let's do it, get it done, and have that piece of the project behind us.
The MOU says that, approved up to $50,000 in road materials and use of rotomail. So I think the rotomail was gonna be on top of that $50,000. And the rotomail was stuff that we already had.
So we'll just need to, cost us to haul it and probably spread it. And so just need to keep that in mind, but I'll get with, maybe.
Which portion of that road do you want to take the road on through?
I would just say from the paved area and then as far as it'll go. We didn't specify an amount. It didn't have a yardage or anything on that. I think it was more of a verbal. Kirby has an idea of how much rotomill we have accessible for that. And so we just need to get with him and then probably get it out there, spread it because it's part of the MOU and just have Ballard done as part of the project. And we don't have to worry about it because I know that'll come up in August when we want to open it and start utilizing it. I just want to have that done before then so it's not a topic of discussion. And it's goodwill, good faith. So.
Any other questions on the gun range? The nature park, just so everybody's aware of the grand opening, obviously, is this Thursday. Hopefully all of you will be there. That's what Josh wanted to tell you guys for the ribbon cutting. It'll be at 5 o'clock.
We're about just by the
I
pavilion.
believe by the pavilion,
Okay.
he's around on the ribbon cutting, so.
I'm planning to be there.
I just phone the speakers, anything
We
like that.
have that. Yeah. Just as a little bit of information too on the nature park. Obviously, there's still a few things we're working on, but we try to get things in. We've been waiting on the fishing pier for 6 months, and it showed up Monday, I guess it was yesterday, on a big pallet. So obviously we don't have time to put it together.
I saw that. I wondered what that was.
Yeah, that's the fishing piers for ADA and so we'll be getting, I know we're gonna be open, but we're gonna have still a little bit of construction going on with the public there, which has been happening anyway. I think everybody's so excited. We've had all sorts down there, so.
I noticed they're working on the pavilion even yesterday, finishing up some stuff there.
Yeah, this little teeny finishing, the entryway's not done, we've gotta get it cleaned and fencing in, so it looks more attractive right there. Instead of all that chain link and poles and, but anyway, and a little bit of signage, so. So when you go down there Thursday and you feel like it's not 100% complete, that's because we're still working on a few little things, so. The grand opening should be fun. We've got Lynn Snow coming to do some cowboy poetry, which I think will be awesome. We've got Hawk Watch.
Yeah, I'll
They're gonna bring out a bird, probably a bald eagle, I'm guessing.
Yeah, they still haven't confirmed if it's the bald or the golden. They want to bring the bald.
So that'll be in the amphitheater. And then the gals at DWR's tagged a bunch of fish. So that'll be for the kids. When they catch a fish, they get a prize and stuff. So we've got local businesses that's donated a lot of stuff. Should be a good time, so. Anyway, that's all I have on projects. Any questions?
Thanks for all you're doing.
Oh.
It's exciting. You,
Mayor's giving a talk.
yeah, I got a 5-minute speech prepared
Easy.
on why you should vote for me.
I say you're using
I might slip into that. That's right. Goodness. I'm not gonna, yeah. Do we have any committee reports, anything from the committee? Kelly, do we have any items for future discussion?
One additional thing, you'll see in front of you, you have the budget, reopened summary for fiscal year 24, and you'll note the date on there, it says June 25th, it's next Tuesday. I missed the deadline for getting the, public notice out for the, hearing, so we will need to do a meeting because this has to be done by the end of June, so. Next Tuesday night, we will set it up in Zoom. We'll have to have the doors open, so Sunshine and I will be here, but if you guys want to come in through Zoom, you can do that because it will be on the agenda.
Okay.
Yeah, Mayor.
Yeah.
Can I ask you one thing that's been kind of driving me crazy? In phase 1, we had the nature park from the golf course to Strata. That was that hole that Sunrise did, do you want me to revise that and come back with phase 2 of the trail and then have nature park be the phase 1 and done?
I think so. I think we're to the point where it's been dragging on for so long, just so we can, for transparency and keep track of everything that's going on. Let's finish phase 1 at whatever the grand opening is Thursday, and then let's work into phase 2, and that'll be everything else beyond.
Okay, I'll get another project cost estimate and some bids and on the phase 2, and because I got to rebid it anyway. So
and that'll incorporate the passage across State Street,
correct,
heading east, and we can just do that as phase 2. One of the things, since you mentioned it, because I want to get lines painted as soon as we get to the golf course. Do we incorporate that in phase 2 to get us at least to the walking path, or? And that would incorporate a chunk of path or, cement or asphalt from 200 North to, what is it, Lagoon Street?
Lagoon.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can add that in there, I think, so.
Maybe let's get to that point, just getting to the nature, or to the walking path with paint and lines, and then the additional, over the Strata.
Okay.
And see what that would cost. Just so that that's our next big push, because painting lines, I can't imagine would take very long. As soon as the trail is done, we can just.
Right. Okay. I'll get with Sunrise and get that cleaned up. So, just as a clarification, though, it's going to be a little confusing with Utah Outdoor Rec Grant. The 4th grant to them is phase 4 of the nature park. So if you get confused, that's what that's.
Can you also show just the grants and how they've been applied?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the first 3 to phase 1 and phase 4 to phase 2.
Yeah.
Okay. And then we'll label them differently. So
okay,
just do grant 1, 2, and 3 to phase 1 and grant 4 to phase 2. We won't say grant phase 4 grant to phase 2. Anyway.
Okay.
That's good.
Do we have need for a closed session, Mayor?
Do quickly. Yeah, two quick things, and then, just same property acquisition thing that we've been working through. And then, I do have some, just follow up really quickly with Cedar View Montwell on negotiations that we've had with them. And, just to get direction from the council moving forward. I think we're close enough, we can do that. But anyway, yeah.
I would move we go into closed session as for purposes listed in Utah Code 52-4-205.
I'll second that.
Second by Councilman Goodrich, all in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
All right, we'll go ahead and, we need to, let's take just a couple minutes. Well, not a couple, one. Al, I just wanted to say hi before you ran off.
Well, I've got a question for you too. Is there gonna be any donations taken for the gun range?
Alright, we are back live.
Okay, we're back live, back in open session. Just talked about a piece of property, some negotiation, kind of got that settled. So that'll bring us back to item 9G, which is an approval of purchase and sale of real property agreement for the sale of a portion of municipally owned real property. Now, this is the property that is behind Maverick and All Red subdivision, or their small tiny home thing, and in exchange, basically gifting 3.6. Oh, yeah, this one.
It's
3.79 acres. So this is located where we want our trail system to go across from 50th or State Street to 50th. So the sale of the property behind Maverick, we're gonna acquire this piece of property. And then we're also committing to purchase a 1 acre piece of property in Stewart's subdivision, or is it Royal Stewart? No, just Stewart's. Subdivision up by the Constitution Park. And so we kind of negotiated those. We will be paid for the first piece, $15,000 approximately, and we will pay $45,000 for the 1 acre piece. So with that,
I would move we approve, right? We need a motion that we approve the adjustment. Since we've already approved this before, we're just approving the process, or I guess how it's being handled.
Approving the whole thing.
Approving the whole thing?
Yeah, everything in closed session was just negotiations. Now
Okay.
this is the.
Okay, I'll move we approve the whole thing then.
okay, so that's those 3 pieces of property. They will be dealt with separately, but that's the motion to go ahead and move forward. Okay, do we have a
I'll
second?
second that.
Second by Councilman Goodrich. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? Motion is unanimous. So that one's done. Any other questions?
I move we adjourn.
I like that motion. Do we have a second? Second by Councilman Goodrich. All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.
Mark and Goodrich, same names.
Yes, who's Martin Goodrich? Yeah, sorry.
Sorry, I know it's usually me. I'm just trying to keep the meeting going.
Yeah, and I put some plans in.
Otherwise, we could be here a long time.
Thanks, Drew.
Hey, Ryan, is the hospital coming to our Thursday? We got.
We had to bring a certain, but I don't think there was.
I would still.
Strategy held on. I would prefer to see their domain all the salad and chips, stuff like that. The city's doing the major changes. And I,
Hey, and we're going to have a election party on Tuesday night. I won't be here. By the way. If we have that election meeting.
I just text about it. We're still having our.
Yeah. But it'll have to be your rival.
What time's your thing? Where? Our meeting will be at 5:30 if we done.
Good night.
I wouldn't worry about coming, you've got stuff to do.
Everybody too. So.
Yeah, you can come on Zoom if you need.
How's Wendy? Dawn?
You know, she's least on the pool. She had back surgery, maybe like they coming out.